Welcome back, guys. It's your boy the Ace back with another special. So if you're new here, this is where we break down the art of ethical hacking one exploit at a time. So today we'll be diving into Metasploitable 2, a deliberately vulnerable VM that's perfect for not only testing and honing in your skills, but also giving you an environment to learn the theoretical aspects as well. So today I'm going to show you how to identify vulnerabilities within the box itself. So whether you're a beginner or just brushing up on skills you might have forgot, this is the right place for you. So buckle up, turn up those speakers, and let's go. So now we're back at the attacking box, as we can see, F Society as always, and we are starting up a shell. So on one VM, we have the attacking box. On the other VM, we have the Metasploitable box. So first of all, what you want to do on this box is do an if config. Now this will just show you the IP address in which this box is in. And the attacking box should at least be within the same network, this 192.168.233 range. And if we just do it if config on this side, we can see it is. And that will make at least the attacking portion side of things easy enough for you to accomplish and demonstrate. Endmap. So before jumping into the exploit, let's start with some reconnaissance using the Endmap. The first step in any pen test, I don't give a shit how good or senior you are, is to scan the target for any port, services or vulnerabilities. Now there's several tools you can use, but the most common and industry standard, I would argue, is Nmap. Now Nmap, for those of you that don't know, is a tool produced actually back in the 70s by Gordon L. It's essentially a tool to not only discover hosts and services on a computer network, but also analyze packets and those responses over the network, including the host discovery, service and operating system detection, etc. It's also evolved over time with Nmap and other kind of tools with Wireshark and Nessus, but that's another story. So typically this is pre-built in most Kali boxes. I'm using Parrot OS, use whichever Linux distro you want. Now when you type Nmap, what you will have is not only a command chain of various tools and OffSec opportunities, but also it is a chance for you to discover open ports and services within that Metasploitable 2 VM box. So if we have the target specification, we can also, you can see there's so many flags that you can do within Nmap already. But for me, if we have Nmap and then we use the SV and the O, so the SV detects the version of services running on a specific target, and then the O enables operating system detection. So after we do that and we insert the IP address of the Metasploitable 2 box, which we know to be now TCP's fingerprinting the operating system, so we need to fire this as sudo. So now we're starting the Nmapping, and now we have our results. So let's see what we can actually see. So here we can see we Nmapped against the host, which is up. So it shows you that you can actually ping that host. And it's showing 977 closed TCP ports at reset, but others are open. So we have port 21 is open for FTP, and it's showing the version, which we can then go into one by one. We have port 22 for SSH, and it's showing the version here. We have port 23 as Telnet is open. We have the SMTP port on 25 is open. We can see port 80 is using Apache and which version. We also see port. We also see port 111 is open on the RPC bind. We also have some Samba ports open on these two TCP ports. Rather interesting. So we have also MySQL and PostgreSQL open. And then we have VNC also open. And then we have here as well on 513, the Solaris R log is also open. So, and it also shows you the MAC address of the VM and the host name, obviously here with the host services. So as you can see, it's quite thorough in its probing, and in a live environment, all of this won't be open, but some of it may if it's been misconfigured, and that's what you have to kind of look out for. So that is stage one in terms of our reconnaissance for the Metasploitable box using Endmap vs FTP. So once we establish which ports that we know to be vulnerable, we can start to dissect them one by one. And interestingly enough, there resides a vulnerability within this FTP service under this version of VS-FTPD. Now, this is a known backdoor, but we want to leverage Metasploit in how we actually deploy this. So what we want to do is go into Metasploit, and once we type the use command, we can use exploit. And then under Unix, we have the FTP collection. Now, there is a backdoor for this version. So the version here is this backdoor right here. Now, in order to set the payload, all we need to do is type the rhost, which sets the remote host's IP address, which we know to be 192.168. So now we've actually set the target in place. We simply hit run. And now what we can see, there is a shell that's been found. Shell opened the session under that port. So if we go into the session, that's it. It's game over, as we can see. Here you can see I am root. So if who am I am the root within the Metasploitable. So just to break down exactly what happened here, there is a known vulnerability for this version of VS-FTPD, try saying that fast, version 234, when triggered, opens a root shell on the system level. Game over. We have root access. Now this craft point happens at this section here. This bit here. And then it finds the shell, and then it opens up the port against the remote host. And then it's using a Python interactive shell. And then it obviously found a binary bash on the target to provide me what we see here. So that's exploit 1. WebDAV exploitation. Now, as we saw from our Nmap scan, we have a port 80 that's using HTTP and it's open, but it also uses this version of WebDAV. Now, WebDAV stands for Web Distributed Authoring and Versioning. It's an extension of the HTTP protocol, which allows us to collaboratively edit and manage files on remote servers, enables web-based file sharing, and provides functionality similar to FTP but over HTTP. Here you can see already where this is going. Now, WebDAV integrations with HTTP introduced several security challenges. You got obviously the misconfiguration aspect, weak authentication aspect, and the lack of validation. So the first thing we want to do here is install Cadaver. Now, this will give us the opportunity to interact with this server directly. So if we just get out of Metasploit quickly, install Cadaver. Lovely. Now Cadaver is done. What we can do is just cd into the desktop quickly. And what we could do is directly interact with the box again, just using the Cadaver command with HTTP and 192.168. All right, so it's looking for the DAV, so it needs to append that against the end of the IP address. Now we're in DAV. Now what we want to do is kind of force feed this server in a way, a PHP script that we can type up. So if we go into here, this is just one I just marked up. But essentially what we could do here is a simple web shell using PHP. So we've got the system and it gets the CMD, and we could just save this now. And this should give us a web shell once we kind of force feed it. The way we do this kind of force feeding using Cadaver, we use the put command. So when we use put, we're telling almost the command line to place it into this directory. Now, what we need to do is find out where that's sitting, and we just called it test.php. Let us rename it and call it shell. Lovely. And let's try that again. Unrecognized command. There we go, finally. Maybe there was just an extension going on there, but now we've used that put command to upload that shell. Now we have the progress of it succeeded. Now this file should be on this server. Now we have a shell and we have a test PHP residing into this location on this server. So we kind of just force fed it through here. Now what we want to do is execute this shell just through a browser now. So if we go into Firefox here and we go into actually if we just go into there, go to DAV and then go to that shell.php, question mark, execute on that CMD front equals, and we just want to return an ID. Now once we execute this ID command on the server, it will return the result showing kind of the user that the server is running as. So that will tell us who is owning that server, hopefully. That's CMD, not there. All right, we've got no request. Just make sure we're right there. All right, let's try that again here. Bam. And then was not found on the server. So if we execute shell cannot execute command. Shell.php, and then if we do question mark cmd equals id. There we go. Now we're in it. Got the money, guys. We got it. So, as we can see here, we've injected a shell script here. Now it's telling us the UID. We got the GID. We got the groups. Now the next step with this ID function, we could even type who am I, and there you go. It's telling us exactly who we are within that server. Now we could just laterally move through the server itself. If we put an ls and then add an LA, we could list the current directories and all directories. Here we have it. So total of 16 here, telling us the various controls, the users against them, when they were edited and uploaded. We can also use the UN name and then do ±A to use verify system information. So here we got the Linux box itself, version of the box, etc. You can even leverage this, believe it or not, to check network configuration. So again, with CMD, we just do an if config from this level. And it should be showing us something. Do this command. But it's not liking that one. Let's try find what kind of processes are running. So if we process an auxiliary process, there we have it. Let's take this one step further and try sudo and see exactly what we could do. So this will show you if the WW data user has any sudo privileges. So next we want to kind of get a reverse shell for easier access. So while using the browser for the command execution can be functional, it's obviously cumbersome. It's not the best way to do it. So if we can try and establish a reverse shell to give me more control and allow me to interact with the target server directly, wouldn't that be more advantageous? So what we want to do now then is start a new window. So if we listen on Netcat using that port 4444, and we bring up this command here. So from here, we can see we're going to establish the HTTP connection to that DAV using that shell that we've already put into that directory. But now we're going to leverage netcat plus E for establish a connection under the bin bash, running back to our attacking box IP address, binding it to that port that we're trying to listen on. So if we have that and we put that in the browser connecting back to the Metasploitable, you can see here on the left, we are establishing a connection now from the attacking box to the victim machine under this port. Now that should be connecting, and if we type who am I, that's it, it's game over. We have everything that we need to access. We have a shell back into that server. Now, as you saw, the WebDAV exploitation is quite a powerful vector in all case, particularly when the server is misconfigured or is using weak to no authentication, which does happen. So using the Nmap, the Cadaver, and the Netcat, we was able to not only perform the attack, but also exploit various options on that server. In terms of defensive tips, definitely disable WebDAV on your server if you're not using it. Restrict access to WebDAV and its directories with strong authentication. Input validation prevents upload of malicious configuration files and enforce file type restrictions. and use HTTPS to actually encrypt communications and protect against kind of man-in-the-middle attacks that could happen like this. But like we said, this is a demo environment to find these exploits and to see how kind of deep the rabbit hole goes with some of them. Conclusion. And there you have it. Now remember, this is HT content. I want you to completely obliterate the like button, subscribe of course, share it where it needs to be shared, and drop your thoughts. I want to see and hear any questions or comments, and tell me what clandestine topics you like to see or discuss next time. Remember, stay vigilant, stay safe in the cyberspace, and peace out.